And welcome back, folks, to the last two. Well, technically, Friday's getting a Who Would Win as well. But that's just the regular one. Technically, the last of the week of Who Would Wins. Who Would Wins. And this one comes to us from Marcus Kane, who asked the question, who, oddly enough, leading up to next week's fight with Tetsuo and Magneto, we have Magneto versus Evil Cole Macgrath. And now, I never truly played the Infamous series, but I am familiar with it, and I did play the demos. I'm aware of the Infamous series, probably more than I even played Prototype or something like that. But yeah, so what basically happened with Cole? Because Magneto, Eric Lencher, born Jewish during World War II, suffered the slings and arrows of the Holocaust. And, he would end up being a mutant who could manipulate electromagnetism. And went on his crusade, trying to rid the world. Not rid the world, but paved the way for mutant supremacy. He is capable of manipulating the electromagnetic fields, specifically allowing him to manipulate metal on a wide degree. But he can do far more than that. His helmet prevents telepathy. He's actually in very good physical condition, despite his age being in the 90s. He is capable of literally pulling the iron out of your blood, lead from your hair, all that. They said that recently in the Death Battle interview. He can manipulate non-magnetic things by creating an electromagnetic field around said object and floating it. That's how he floats. He can even survive in space by holding an atmosphere. He can manipulate the Earth's electromagnetic freaking field. He has stopped and controlled Mjolnir before. He has sensed magnetic fields from galaxies away. This dude is insanely powerful. Now, Cole is what's known as a conduit. He's basically a result of an accident that happened, giving him electromagnetic powers. Obviously, he has electrokinesis, allowing him to fire lightning bolts. Slightly weaker, because we're looking at Infamous 2, so it'd be Evil Cole, not Infamous 1. He began holding his skills and powers and do blah, 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 preparation for his imminent advent. Cole retains his power, including static thrusters, precision. Basically, he can just use electricity. But he does have electromagnetism like Magneto now. He has ionic manipulation, not storm. He lost the ability to manipulate lightning storms through his own electrokinetic abilities. But he can do so by when enemies drop a charge when taken down. He can use the power to perform devastating powers akin to the attributes such as conjuring a powerful hurricane, ionic vortex, or more powerful stationary lightning storms. So he can create lightning storms, and the original was able to manipulate weather. Not on a global scale like Storm could, and Magneto's gone toe-to-toe with Storm, but still. Superhuman physicality. This is where he does probably have an edge on Magneto, most definitely, is that he can survive a lot of direct hits from RPG rounds, mortar shells, exploding cars, and barely any damage. He also has a healing factor that helps with that. If you choose good karma, basically not evil Cole, you can get ice manipulation. If you choose negative karma, evil karma, you get napalm manipulation. Cole has the ability to manipulate napalm, the ability that he got from attempting to transfer powers from Nyx. Among the new powers that he'll acquire are the Firebird Strike. He envelops his body in fire and flies a short distance before creating a small explosion. Ionic Drain. Cole uses Ionic Charge to expand his Bio-Leech ability, draining life energy from his surroundings, including energy sources. Larger enemies are not affected by this power. Nightmare Blast. He creates a cloud of smoke, ash, blinding human-sized enemies caught in the blast radius. Napalm Grenade. Cole throws an explosive ball of oil that detonates on impact, delivering a great blast radius and damage. And Hellfire Rockets launches a cluster of 5 fireballs that explode on impact, delivering greater damage than other rockets. Cole also gains bonuses that coincide with his karmic rank, such as his ability to heal several civilians, and also the ability to gain unlimited power for a limited time. Kind of defeats the point. At the end of the final confrontation with the Beast, you got a glimpse of his full potential when the fully charged RFI amplified his power. He began to fire missile bolts as he did during the first battle with the Beast. He appeared to have a permanent form of karmic overload, as he was seen using the first battle. Static Thruster allowed his true flight abilities to allowed him true flight ability and was less hindered by the beast's attack. His powers are amplified to the extent that he can bring down the beast within moments, while it had taken a much longer time previously. Since Kessler was Cole's future self, it can be assumed that he would have gained all of Kessler's abilities had he stayed alive as long and perhaps survived them. Kessler may not have had restored electricity to the Empire or looked bad Blast Corps, whatever. He may not have had to restore electricity to the Empire or look to Blast Corps, whatever. But he does have a couple severe weaknesses. Notably, he needs to regulate his body's electricity. He's able to store and channel electricity in and out of his body, though it comes from a different power source, meaning the energy he's able to produce is limited by the amount he can store. In order for him to use more powerful abilities, Cole has to absorb energy from the power source to fuel them. When out of energy, he can only perform minimal actions and attacks. Also, Cole's body reacts to energy that's surrounding him. If energy is absent in the area, his body weakens, which makes him more vulnerable, considering that there is nowhere for him to absorb electricity. Another weakness that he has involves being submerged in water, large bodies of water. When submerged in deeper water than his waistline, he'll short circuit for as long as he stays in there. However, Cole can withstand up to neck-deep water for about 30 seconds before it kills him and is unaffected by small amounts, as he's seen being able to drink water and beer no problem, and is unbothered by puddles and small fountains. Although this causes the water to produce a static field, electrocuting anything other than Cole, falling in the middle of the ocean will usually instantly kill him, although he has survived it on one occasion after the initial confrontation. Mentioned by Zeke, Cole is unable to use guns. This is not going to play a factor into the fight at all. So one of the things here that Magneto has a really strong advantage over is Cole is that electromagnetism is still part of the electrical spectrum, if that makes any sense. Technically, there isn't an electrical spectrum, but electromagnetism is just another form of electricity. If you remember in the animated series when they first met him, Storm, Fire, Bolt, Lightning, he just goes, "Have you ever gotten lightning and electricity electricity and magnetism are related?" You can't really do any electric shit to him. He can kind of just absorb it. I mean, that's assuming you don't catch him off guard with a Supreme Bolt or something like that, but he's gotten literally enough battlefield awareness thanks to the magnetic spectrum of the planet that if he could sense that shit, he'd be like, "Oh, wait, adorable," and then just let me show you what else I can do, and then just throws literally mountains at him. Cole though does at least have the advantage of a healing factor, better physical stats. Honestly, he clearly just has better physical stats, a healing factor, and since we're using Evil Cole, he does have Napalm, which is not something Magneto has an immediate defense for. But the problem here, ultimately, in this fight, is the fact that most of Cole's basic attacks are just going to glance off Magneto, just going to have, be protected and whatnot. And furthermore, his Napalm, Magneto can literally survive supernovas, for Christ's sake. People have stated that he's pretty much more on a Herald level, something like a Silver Surfer, honestly, maybe even like a Thanos-esque, because people claim that he had survived Big Bang-esque abilities before. I have not seen those comics, but I'll take your word for it for everyone. It's I wasn't really... People you're underestimating Magneto, man. It's I think Magneto's going to win the fight. How am I underestimating him? If I thought he was going to lose the fight, like they said, the only thing I can really think of that Akira or Tetsuo has for that, just to sidetrack real quick, is the alleged Big Bang feat. And even that is debatable. And even then, Magneto might be able to survive it, as far as I know. Everyone seems to believe he can survive it. Anyway, so his durability in terms of his what he's able to actually use for his electromagnetism and stuff like that, it kind of eclipses anything Cole can really throw at him. It's really the fact that as long as Magneto has an electrical field up, a magnetic sphere up to protect him, Cole really does not have anything to do to hurt Magneto, really at all. Like any of the napalm, Magneto survived way worse against far stronger individuals. The electricity, he can just absorb that. Even if this was good karmic Cole, he just doesn't have the level of power to just do anything. He also doesn't have any real counter for Magneto either. He might not be magnetic per se, although Magneto can easily pull the iron and stuff out of his blood, and the fact that he's a little beyond human. Actually, let me get the conduit thing up here real quick. Is beyond human, that actually poses a bit of that isn't necessarily a benefit, because his biology has changed at this point. Hold on, alias, rev, age. Well, do I have gender, male, status, deceased, active, elending, powers, blah blah blah, occupation, conduit. Okay, there's got to be something about what a conduit actually is. Okay. Anyway, regardless. So yeah, Magneto theoretically could pull like iron out of his blood, all of it. That could seriously hinder him. His healing factor could kick in. What is actually a supreme detriment to Cole in this fight is the fact that he has a much higher than average electrical field in his body because he stores electricity. Magneto in one comic ripped out Apocalypse's freaking head and mind by literally pulling apart the electrical impulses in his brain. That is metal as hell. And Cole having a lot more electricity in there means he's actually a much more prime target for an attack like that. So unfortunately, Evil Cole is just gonna be evil. He doesn't really have a really strong motivation for beating Magneto apart from he's in his way. Whereas Magneto also doesn't have a strong motivation for beating Cole, but Cole probably keeps attacking him. It's like, whatever. And so, yeah. I mean, think about this. Magneto literally ripped Wolverine's adamantium skeleton off of him. Indestructible metal. He ripped it off by liquefying it. Do you know what he had? Do you realize what he had to do that? I'm wondering if Death Battle will actually go into it. He had to superheat the metal so much that it went into a liquid form, because he can't necessarily change the state of matter with metal. That's the thing. He can't go from gas metal to liquid metal to solid metal and vice versa. He can't do that. At least best I know he can't do that. And before anyone says, "Oh, what do you mean he can't do that?" To the best I know, he can't do it. But because he controls, because his mutation is manipulating electromagnetic fields. Well, if you've ever held and this is a great little thing you can do. You got to be careful with it because you can burn yourself. But if you've ever held tinfoil to two different ends of a battery, that thing will superheat quick. And the charge is through there. So it's the same principle. Basically, he just used the electromagnetism to manipulate the metal and heat it up to the point where he could liquefy it and rip it off the dude's skeleton. And that shows you how badass and hacks Wolverine's healing factor is. They freaking survived that. Barely, but he did. So, yeah, I really don't see Cole, evil or good, coming out of this fight in a good way. The napalm's the one thing Magneto might have to be like, okay, well, this is a little different, but whatever. But the napalm's the only thing he has that can really do anything to hurt Magneto. Even if Magneto does get hit by a stray bolt of lightning or something like that, he survived way worse. Now, granted, Magneto's abilities are, a little dependent on his physical health. At the worst shape he's in, it's a little bit harder it is for him to manipulate stuff. But he's survived a lot and has still been able to manipulate metal in his world, do dizzying effects. And this, I didn't even bring up the fact, and now to be fair, he could not place Cole in an electromagnetic field to keep him stable, because Cole can absorb energy, and electromagnetism is just a form of electricity. So he could actually absorb that. And Magneto's also over 90 years old, so he's easily been around long enough to realize, okay, that won't work. Let's try something else. Let's try skewering you on a kebab of light poles. Let's try that. So, yeah, Magneto, I think, is going to take this wholeheartedly in a fight between these guys. But that is just my opinion. What do you think in the comments below? Let me know. Until then, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you folks for the next one.